Hi, welcome to Rajalne, and even welcome to the video series on understanding the job description when applying for business analyst in FACETS application. As we all know, business analysis is all about understanding the requirements and providing solutions. Business analyst works on different domains, something like healthcare, banking, insurance, retail, supply chain, logistics, travel, telecom, etc. One of the prominent domain across industries which we have a lot of opportunities in reference to the business analysis role itself is concerned is called healthcare. In context to US healthcare system, there were a lot of openings in US healthcare system, especially for a BA role. So someone wants to change their career towards business analysis side, or whoever wants to apply for job opportunities or who wants to get trained under business analysis, especially on healthcare. It's not only about knowing about the healthcare system of US, at the same time, not only knowing about the kind of standards like HIPAA rules and regulations, or else knowing about Medicare, Medicaid, all that. But one should have a knowledge over the applications what generally we use in real environment for claim processing and all. Because there is a major application we use this in healthcare system when there is any kind of claim processing and all everything we use is called FACETS, Transito FACETS, right? So this is an healthcare application which majorly we use this for claim processing, adjudication, at the same time even for updating the migration, updating the provider details, eligibility, all that stuff. Right? So this is an application I can say. So not only knowledge on the US healthcare system, but knowledge over the FACETS will also provide an additional advantage people who are applying for opportunities in healthcare side, especially in context to the role of a BA. Hence, I am making a video on this. People who are applying the opportunities. So what kind of skill set one must be good with? So the detailed explanation is what I am providing in this present video. If you start with being a business analyst working on FACETS, we must have a knowledge over the configuration part, because FACETS configuration, while we are working on a particular environment, is required, because some kind of administrative activities I can say, because knowledge over the configurations part, because for example, some organization uses different applications earlier where they want to migrate or they want to configure a new applications like FACETS application and all everything. So that sort of knowledge is required initially to start with being a BA. So apart from requirements, I'm not going more detailed about requirements management, preparing BRDs, user stories, all that, because those are all common things. So being a BA, knowledge over preparing BRDs, functional, non-functional requirements, preparing some gap analysis, at the same time writing epics user stories. This is a normal area which being a BA you must be expertise with. So this focus is more on the basic side, apart from the one which I was mentioned you some time back. So FACETS configuration is something required. So knowledge over how to configure FACETS, right? So at the same time, because we want to know about the scope of the change happens from the technical perspective, because technical infrastructure plays a vital and important role. So that knowledge is required for any person who is applying for an opportunity as a BA. At the same time, we should be able in a position to assess the impact of the existing system, because when there is any configuration or migrations taken place for any of the application, it is not something in reference to the FACETS I'm talking about, that migration part, or when we are going for configurations and all, understanding about the existing system is equally required. So assessing the impact of the existing system followed by those configurations should be known to us. At the same time, we must be knowing about different health plans like Medicare, Medicaid programs and all that. We have to evaluate it, design, testing and implementation in reference to the business initiatives of the configuration of the applications what it has, because Medicare is a kind of plan which will be provided for everyone, whereas Medicaid is a plan subject to the people who are low income group people, it will be provided. But Medicare will be controlled over by the federal government, whereas Medicaid will be controlled over by the state governments, but everything comes under CMS. CMS is an entity called Center for Medicare and Medicaid Services. They will take care of all the programs. And whatever the changes happens in regular intervals and all everything should be known to a BA well. Next, we must be having an idea over TCS, which is called Transitor Communication System, because this I can say a parent company of FACETS, I can say, right? Transitor FACETS, we call it as. So knowledge over Transitor Communication System, knowledge is required. At the same time, we must have knowledge over letter generations, at the same time content of communication, understanding the data models, batch frameworks, etc. in context to TCS. Not only this, as I mentioned in the beginning, repeating the same, knowledge over claim processing and adjudication, followed by this migrations taken place sometimes. Let's say, for example, organizations are using another application called QList. It's one more kind of application. Whenever they want to migrate from QNets to FACETS and all, that migration is required. So knowledge over the migrations is also essentially needed. Followed by this knowledge over the provider eligibility, prior authorizations, what are all required for Medicare and Medicaid programs. Thus, that knowledge is even required for a BA. Next, one more important point about EDI transactions, which is called electronic data interchanges. Wherein whenever we are talking about EDI transactions, there are different codes. Of course, there are a lot of codes even, but major codes like 270, 271, 278, 837, 837 ILP, 5, 834, 820, etc., etc. So these are the codes, because some are to subscriber codes, some are claim submission codes, claim adjudication codes, something of that sort. So these kind of transaction codes, knowledge should be familiar to any BA. At the same time, there are a lot of FACET modules and groups we have, something like billing provider, claim processing, membership, all that. So these are the major ones. Whatever I was highlighted here, billing provider, claims and membership, these are the major modules. Being a business analyst, one must be good with. Apart from that, there were other even groups even. But subject to understanding, I don't recommend that each and every group and as well as module will be experienced by the BA, right? So because that may not be possible practically all the time. Depends on the kind of environment, depends on the kind of job profile a person is working. They may have a better understanding over benefits configuration, right? So they may have good understanding about the network providers or something like that. Somebody have knowledge over claims, somebody have knowledge over memberships and as well as risk applications and so on. So practically sometimes, I don't say for all the cases, practically sometimes person whoever wants to apply for business opportunities need not have knowledge of may not have an experience over all the modules and as the groups, whatever I was mentioned you. But to an extent possible, whatever the knowledge required for us to gain, that is more helpful. On that context, I'll say, because for example, being a business analyst, X is a person working as a business analyst on healthcare domain on FACETS. Depends on the profile what normally they carry, what profile he or she carries. Based upon the activities what they perform, they will be experienced on that part. They may not have experience in other areas, right? So this is where generally we call it as this FACET modules and groups. So what I'm trying to say, when we are applying opportunities, need not be having knowledge over 100% in all these, because practically may or may not be, but to an extent possible, whatever the knowledge you have in few things, and like billing, provider, claim processing, memberships. These are majorly things, like majorly useful things are this: payer, subscriber. So these are the things which are majorly used. So this knowledge even required for a BA. At the same time, there are different standard codes we use in healthcare, like HIPAA, EDI, SANSI, HL7, CMM level or ISO, CPT, and CMS forms, all that. So that standard codes and forms knowledge is also required. At the same time, in the beginning, I have told you configuration, setup procedure, codes, applications knowledge is also required for a BA. Last but not least, we need to set up some tables, like table fields like name, field names, right? So field descriptions, all that stuff, right? So these are all the one. Not being a business analyst, whenever we are applying for opportunities, especially in healthcare, as a BA, and if you want to be more specific about FACETS application and all, these are the areas where you have to keep into an account when you are preparing your CV, when you're preparing your resume and all that. Make sure whatever the information I was given here. So make sure to put and to insert these informations and to get as maximum as exposure as possible on these areas. So it is more helpful when you are applying for opportunities. At the same time, whenever you are attending for interviews and all that, you will have more advantage over. You have more advantage to get succeeded, right? So at least initially to start with. So I hope this is what generally the video in reference to the FACETS business and this job description is all about. I hope this video will give us a clear understanding over how to write what and how to apply for when we are preparing CVs, resumes, all that. For any more information, if you want, at the same time, if you want any kind of training support or consulting or coaching levels supports, all that, please feel free to please feel free to contact us in the following details, which will be posted in below to this video. Thank you.